Hi, this is Dave from Trop Gun Shop. Have you ever tried to research the value of a Smith & Wesson and you've seen the terms pinned and recessed and you didn't know what that meant? We're going to cover that in today's video. I'm recording to you from my man cave where I'm enjoying a cigar while we're talking about Smith & Wesson handguns. Let's start with an example of a pistol that is pinned and recessed. In this case, a Model 17 from the late 1950s. And when we talk about pinned, what they're talking about, right below my pen, there's literally a pin sticking out of the frame on both sides. The barrels back then were threaded into the frame, and that pin was used to hold the barrel in place. The reason for that is they could get the threads to fit the frame as closely as possible without compacting or crushing those threads, so that as the bullet entered the barrel, it wasn't being sized down. That's the pinned part. The recessed part has to do with the cylinders. The cartridge case would fit into the cylinder, into the recess that they made for it. Now that's not the cylinder, it's a recess for the head itself, at the head itself rather, for the cartridge. The cartridge was sitting there and it would be flush with the back of the cylinder. That's the recessed part. Pinned and recessed. Pinned and recessed guns were absolutely the finest that Smith & Wesson made. Unfortunately, it became cost prohibitive for them to do that. And so the more modern guns, in this case a Model 629, as you can see, has no pin. So what holds the barrel in place? Well, what they do is something called crush fitting the threads. The threads are slightly oversized to the frame, and so as the barrel goes in, they compact, and that compression of the threads is what holds the barrel into the frame. That works just fine. It's very, very strong. In fact, it's very difficult to get this barrel off. What it does do is create a bit of a constriction here. When the bullet travels through the barrel, that bullet is going to get sized down just a little bit, which can affect accuracy. The other thing you'll see on the back of the cylinder, much easier to see in a 44 Magnum than in a 22. The back of the cylinder is flat. The cartridge head sits on top of the cylinder and is visible even from the side when the cylinder is closed, not recessed. The reason they do that is simply a lot cheaper to flat cut or flat mill the back of the cylinder so that the cartridge head just sits on there rather than having to drill a counter bore hole to protect that cartridge case head flush. In terms of the strength of the revolver, and in most calibers it doesn't matter, they're equally as strong. In terms of fit and finish, the old Smith & Wessons were great guns. Certainly higher quality fit and finish than modern guns. But in terms of actual function difference, virtually none to the shooter. When looking at Blue Book of Gun Values or maybe Gun Broker or something like that, and you see pinned and recessed, what they're referring to is a pinned barrel and recessed cylinder heads. And that is your gun value tip from my man cave. Thanks. Please like and subscribe below, and we'll see you next time at Trop USA.